Hello everyone, welcome to this session on potential fall in GDP. During the past few months, we have been hearing from various international agencies like Moody's, S&P, IMF about different levels of fall in GDP, ranging from 0% to minus 10%. What is the truth? And let's understand in a very simple manner as to what could be the real fall in the GDP. For this, we'll use the income approach for GDP calculation. To start with, we will first estimate the base values for 2019-20 for the various components of GDP, which are the wages, rent, interest, profit, various adjustment factors like the indirect tax and the depreciation. To keep the things very simple, we will use approximation based on some realistic assumptions based on the published and the unpublished figures. As per the revised estimates, GDP for 2019-20 is 203 lakh crore rupees. To calculate the rental income, it is assumed that businesses and individuals spend roughly 10% of their income towards rent, and 30% of the businesses and individuals operate out of the rented premises. This gives us rental income as 3% of the GDP, translating into rupees 6 lakh crore. Interest income. Total debt for the Indian economy is 140 lakh crore rupees. This includes the domestic and the foreign debt. Assuming the cost of capital at 10%, the interest income works out to almost 14 lakh crore rupees. Profits for the economy has historically been less than 5% of the GDP. Taking the effective tax rate around 23%, the profit as a percent of GDP turns out to almost 6.5%, translating into rupees 13 lakh crore rupees. Indirect taxes, which is GST, the customs tax, the excise duties, this is 29% of the budgeted expenditure of rupees 30 lakh crore rupees. This translates into rupees 10 lakh crore rupees of indirect tax income. Now, depreciation can be calculated in two ways. The one is assuming a depreciation rate of 7% and the total capital employed, which is nothing but the debt and the equity component. Here the equity component has been calculated based on the total market capitalization. Now, at the current moment, the market capitalization is around 140 lakh crore rupees, and taking the debt at 140 lakh crore rupees, the depreciation works out to almost 15 lakh crore rupees. The other approach is the gross capital formation approach. In the year 1920, the GCF was $191 billion, and that comes to around 13 lakh crore rupees. Using GCF as equivalent to the depreciation, we can safely assume that depreciation for the economy as around 15 lakh crore rupees. This gets us to the balancing figure for the wages, which comes to around 145 lakh crore rupees. And this takes the lion's share of the GDP, roughly 70% of the GDP, as per the income approach. The next step, we will overlay this GDP working for 1920 with the various scenarios which indicate the contraction in the income for the year 2021. We have considered three scenarios: the worst case scenario, the base case scenario, and the best case scenario. Worst refers to the highest contraction in the GDP, and the best refers to the least contraction in the GDP. The assumptions for the three scenarios have been worked out based on the current economic situation. After laying these three scenarios on the base working for 1920, we will get to the potential contraction in GDP for 2020-21. We could clearly see that in all the scenarios, there is a risk of tremendous fall in GDP. In the worst case, the GDP could fall potentially by 67 lakh crore rupees, equivalent to 33% fall. And in the best case, GDP would still contract by 18%, equivalent to 37 lakh crore rupees. And in the base case, the contraction is around 25%, equivalent to 50 lakh crore rupees. These are big contraction in GDP, and these are the reason for worry for the government. Government is aware about this grave situation, and as a result, government has stepped up its spending to stop the fall in GDP. What could be the realistic fall in GDP, and what are the options and the measures the government is planning to take to stop the fall in GDP? You will learn in my next video. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this session. Don't forget to press the like, share and subscribe button. Stay tuned for more interesting discussions on topics of strategy, finance and business.